And welcome back to another sensational stream from none other than the sensational TMZ. House show number 3 of the month, but number 2 on stream. And I hope, among all hopes, that you are enjoying your night or day, depending on when you watch this. We got a stacked card for you. If you're new to the format, I'll walk you through it, tell you what the haps are, and try to help your enjoyment as much as humanly possible. Up first, however, as you can see, the man, the myth, the legend, the ravishing Rick Rude, with his manager, the brain, the weasel, Bobby Heenan, going up against Masa Chono in what should promise to be an absolute tremendous contest. Without a doubt, if you're not strapped in and ready to go, then what are you doing with yourself? TCW presents a house party, and I hope that you do enjoy. And walking down the aisle, the only man to show up on WCW Nitro and WWF Monday Night Raw on the same night. He would go on to have tremendous success in WCW as well as WWF in the late 80s and early 90s for WCW. Masa Chono, one of the gems of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and tonight he is trying to prove that he has what it takes to join the ranks among the TCW roster. And I just noticed that I had made a slight error and what I wanted to do as far as format, but I will adjust it in the meantime and in between time. So don't you worry about that. It'll only take a slight moment after this match has concluded, but it's mostly for my purposes and won't affect your enjoyment. But nonetheless, as I was saying, if you are new to the format, please check out some TCW TV and or pay-per-views. Pay-per-views will just be TCW : whatever the pay-per-view name is. So far the 2 pay-per-views that we have run are Halloween Havoc Highway to Hell, and then the one that took place on Thanksgiving, which was TCW : Soul Survivor, a spiritual successor to the Survivor Series. Both were tremendous events, very entertaining and worth a watch if you're interested. Now, as far as the format for these house shows, if you are unaware, the house shows kind of allow me to use talent that is not currently on my roster for the Battle of the Bookers, as it is called by me, the moniker that I gave it, which is a competition between me and 2 other YouTubers, in which we have 25-man rosters as of now, and book week by week, 3 weeks per endgame month, and then finish with a pay-per-view. We record all the match rating outcomes at the end, as well as if there was a critical who won, who lost, determine average ratings for shows based on match ratings. Then we have segments that follow them and adjust popularity based on the outcomes and match ratings. Sounds maybe slightly complex. Pretty simple, especially the way that Charles, the GM, has set it up. And I will be sure to link their YouTube channels in the comments at some point so that you can check out their awesome content, as well as my TVs as well, if you are interested in it. Personally, I think it's a pretty cool idea. I was definitely intrigued by it, and I'm super glad that I was able to join. So huge shout out to those guys for allowing me in what has been a really cool experience so far. So, backstory now, as far as why I'm doing house shows. One, it just allows me to record this stuff, which I very much enjoy commentating and archiving, using talent that isn't on my roster, which is something that I will probably be doing throughout the entirety, at least, of the Battle of the Bookers series. It's not going to be canon necessarily, and that it's not going to be recorded towards what we would consider progress in the Battle of the Bookers. But it's cool for me. I can advance storylines on my own for kayfabe reasons, and also use talent that I normally wouldn't be able to. But it's also super important as of late, and it is for this reason, and that reason is after next in-game month, after my next pay-per-view, all 3 GMs will engage in a secondary draft, so to speak. A compository draft is perhaps the word I'm looking for. And we will increase the size of our rosters from a current 25-man roster to a 30-man roster. So right now, I am trying to scout 5 guys that I think will indubitably increase the quality of my product and make a good fit for the TCW roster. So, if you end up seeing this in the future, whether you're watching it on the stream now or you end up watching it after it's archived, and have someone in mind, drop a comment down below. There's obviously a chance that they might already be on one of the 2 other rosters, as there already is 50 guys who are under contract, so to speak, who are being used by Charles or Brandon. Nonetheless, though, I mean, there's some obvious guys: Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, trying to think, Steve Austin, I think The Rock, Kurt Angle, guys who you would expect to be picked in this game have been picked already, as Masa Chono is really putting it on Rick Rude. And again, this is a completely different format from how I like to commentate my shows. So if you're looking for maybe a more serious broadcast, so to speak, the TVs are definitely for you, in my opinion. It's much more kayfabe, with 2 commentators as well for at least the last 2 or 3 episodes, which is certainly cool because there's some good chemistry there, some back and forth, so not just listening to me drone on, and actually get to hear more conversation instead of just me. However, it is what it is. I think this is definitely for a certain type of fan, and the other one might be more for you if you like a different style. But back to the point. If you like that more, in the archives, TCW TV and the pay-per-views are produced as if they are a TV show or pay-per-view from the point of commentary. This is just fan service, so to speak. Put on the best show and give some insight into the inner workings and what is going on behind the scenes. I think it's kind of interesting to get both sides. Some people like to feel immersed in it. I totally get that. That's why you could pick or choose. Now, for the uninitiated, the Battle of the Bookers, we just recently had our NWA or Alliance title tournament. I had 3 of my roster members, Antonio Inoki, Magnum TA, and the Ultimate Warrior, representing and fighting on behalf of TCW, my promotion. Magnum TA, somewhat surprisingly, made it to the final. Inoki, who was my favorite, did not make it. And Ultimate Warrior, who has been pretty much dominant on TCW, did not make it either. Magnum, very solid hand. Definitely a heavyweight title contender. Made it to the finals. Really a great showing by him. And would go on to meet none other than Andre the Giant. And in that match, Magnum TA would come up just an inch short, surprisingly, against the Giant. Put on a great performance and will be rewarded appropriately, I would say. Nonetheless, we didn't come home with the 10 pounds of gold that we were hoping we would. So slight disappointment, and Masa Chono wins in just over 20 minutes, and we're gonna have to see what the match rating was on that. Definitely going to be seeing him in the future. What a tremendous performance. And so we didn't get the result we were looking for, but at the end of this in-game month, we will be having an NWA, a Crockett Cup of sorts, an NWA tag title tournament, in which right now I believe I will be having 3 members in the tournament. So if you want to give a recommendation for which tag you would like to see, that would definitely be awesome. I would like to hear some suggestions. If you're somewhat familiar with the roster, you could create a makeshift team of sorts, or a tag that has tagged in the past in real life. For example, 2 tags that I have been considering and think that I will possibly pull the trigger on moving forward to represent TCW would be the Blade Runners, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior. Basically because they are my duos champions. They've done very well in the tag division and very well in singles competition. And another tag would be the tag team of Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody, which I think would be a very dominant tag team for sure. They're both rough, tough dudes, pretty hard to beat. And I think they would represent TCW well, but I still have to figure out what will be the third tag team to represent TCW if I do happen to stick with those two tag teams that I just mentioned, which is still kind of up in the air. If there's an obvious tag team that I'm missing, then certainly I would have to consider them as well. There is certainly some great talent on this roster. We got Hogan, the Immortal, Hulk Hogan, for one. On top of that, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Sting, Warrior, Bruiser, Hanson, Taker, DiBiase, Piper. Might as well go through the list. HBK, Omega, Savage, Hart, Okada, Bret Hart, by the way, Nakamura, Great Muta, I named all those guys, Tanahashi, Inoki, Mr. Perfect, Owen Hart, and Lesnar, Magnum TA, Naito, and Pentagon Jr. So definitely, you got some talent there, for sure. Not sure whether you could come up with a team that would be better than the two that I mentioned prior, but I could be wrong. I mean, certainly on TCW TV I've been flirting with tags involving Taker, Lesnar, Hogan, Dusty, Flair, Savage, and Hart have their own tag team going right now, but my current opinion is that Bruiser and Hanson are going to be super tough. Just really grizzled guys who are going to be tough to beat no matter what. And Sting and Warrior just kind of on a hot streak that leads me to believe they're going to be in the same boat. So I don't know. Obviously, I would like to hear some suggestions if there's someone that you would like to see, because right now for the third team I'm kind of, I'll probably have to go with a makeshift team. I off the top of my head I can't even think of another established tag. So, but I really hope that we can at least bring home the NWA tag belts, because we came up just short of the heavyweight alliance tag belt. Magnum, he did well, just not well enough. And it's not horseshoes or hand grenades, folks. So you either win it or you don't. And there's no maybes, there's no in-betweens. Like Yoda would say, young Jedi Padawan, you either do or do not. There is no try. And while Magnum tried, he did not come up with the belt. But I believe, and I'm fairly sure I'm correct on this, on the same pay-per-view card that will hold the NWA Tag Title Tournament, the newly awarded Alliance Heavyweight title, which I will be referring to probably as the NWA title, will be defended by Andre the Giant, that tournament victor, in a triple threat match. And oh boy, am I excited. Now, here's the thing. Not sure whether it's going to be an elimination triple threat or a first pinfall triple threat, and that's huge. Why would that be huge? It could be to my benefit or to one of the other GM's benefits. Because if there's someone who is dominant, yeah, it's more than likely that they're going to win, but they could lose without really being involved in the finish of the match. So for as dominant as they could be, the third competitor could be so inept that it doesn't matter. Now, in my head currently, there are probably 5 names that are circulating as to who could be involved, and I guess since that is such a large number, it's not going to allow the other GMs to use strategy against those 5. I mean, once we pick, it's going to be locked in. So, I mean, they have 5 people in mind. It's hard. They're so different. So I will show my hand, so to speak. And here are the 5 people who I think would give me the best chance at bringing home that Alliance Heavyweight title. And again, if you know the roster, if you remember some of the people I named, let me know who you think would do best. Whether it's just based on you watching them, you liking them the most, or you playing and knowing, like, oh, this guy will do really well. So here are my 5, and it might be more. Inoki, Magnum, obviously after his performance, Warrior. Right, I think, and that doesn't probably surprise anyone, as Hashimoto takes home a victory easily over Nick Bockwinkel in a disturbingly quick victory. Did not expect that in the least. Not that I didn't expect Hashimoto to win, but just not in that time frame. $77. So that's not the type of performance we want. I went over this last stream on the other video, so this might sound like old hat, so to speak. The way that Battle of the Bookers works, you want to have good match ratings so that your average match ratings for the show stay high. Right now, almost every show has been high 80s, low 90s. A few have cracked the low 90s. So you got to get some guys who are going to put on matches that are in that range, obviously, and guys who can put on 100s, more, all the better. But again, I'm not going to hold it against Hashimoto, because it could have just been Bockwinkel not being a good dance partner. We've seen that before. I think we are all familiar that could be the case, as with, almost anything. And up next, we're going to have Karl Gotch going up against Bruno San Martino from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Did I have to do that? Yeah, you're darn tootin'. Nonetheless, as I was saying, top 5 guys for the NWA title triple threat match. Inoki, Magnum, Warrior. Taker, Lesnar, and then a 6-man who's going to win the 6th-man award for being number 6 in my amigos, my team of frickin' dream team of killers when it comes to Fire Pro Wrestling, the immortal Hulk Hogan. Any one of those 5 could easily bring home the gold. The trouble is determining which one is the best option to pull off that task. And I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure who I want to go with yet. And obviously that is currently restricted to current roster. It would be nice if I could bring in a guy like a ringer. I think there's probably a few guys that I've put on the house shows that could maybe just be instant contenders and be amongst the top guys that I have to choose from. Unfortunately, I can't do that, but I mean, I'd much rather, you know, go with the talent that I know, and I'm starting to get a pretty good read on who is doing well. So that's probably better this way, because, you know, I could base it off of 2 matches that I had on house shows, or maybe 1. And it could just turn out that they had a lucky dominant match against someone, and then, you know, they pooped their britches in the tournament, or triple threat rather. So Inoki I like because of his MMA background. He works a lot of submissions and goes for a lot of knockout blows, and geez, oh man, Karl Gotch, I believe, broke the arm of Bruno, but the match has not ended. He's a tough SOB. He had his neck broken in the ring. He's just gonna keep going. He doesn't even give a hoot. You can tell something's off with him. Clearly, something's wrong with those arms. But I've got to be completely honest with you, full disclosure, I have never seen that. Generally, a critical is, that's all she wrote. I think he has like a broken arm and he's just fighting through it. But this is a Karl Gotch that I have not seen, and that's all she wrote. He could not continue to compete after he broke his arm, and Karl Gotch made quick work of him, and wow, what a performance. Karl Gotch definitely redeeming himself after going down to Lou Thez just a few days ago, and certainly not a match rating I would want to see on TV, but you know what? I'll let it slide on a house show. Sometimes the shock is better than the awe. And that's all I got to say about that. So up next, got another match between Nikita Koloff and Jerry the King Lawler, the King of Memphis. He just turned 69 days ago, and I had thought he was 69 this entire time, and apparently they forgot the ing. Every time, folks. This bird won't quit. Now, Nikita is a relative unknown, at least for me. Not sure exactly what to expect, and the same could be said for Jerry the King. I mean, Nikita could be that absolutely dominant heel that we need to eventually face for the NWA title, which will be, and this is my understanding, after every pay-per-view, after every promotional pay-per-view, the NWA title will be defended by the title holder against either both promotions contenders or just one. So make of that what you will. So, long story short, once we do this talent acquisition that I've been referencing for past few house shows, then it's free game. I mean, they can compete for your titles, and you can allow them to compete for the NWA tag or NWA heavyweight title. Nikita Koloff strikes me as someone who could potentially be the man to come in and instantly work at the top of all 3 promotions. I'm hoping to see that, but at the same time, I mean, if he's a great performer as well and can dance with Jerry the King, so be it, man. We can use top performers all day long. And I mean, long story short, he strikes me as a top guy. And you need top guys. I have a lot. Those 6 people I mentioned, all top guys. Can you ever have an overabundance of top guys? I would love to find out. I would love to. That's a problem I don't think I would mind having, especially in the Battle of the Bookers scenario, where there's not so much a salary cap. There's really there's no it's no negative to having a lot of talent, is what I'm trying to say. You know, in real life, oh man, how am I going to pay all these top guys? Or in the E-Fed that we're running, man, I want every freaking top guy there is. I mean, if I could trade for some guys, I would do it. You know, and maybe I'll have to start wheeling and dealing. For anyone who watches this, who has seen Charles or Brandon's product, know a few guys on their roster you think I could do better with, because I'm telling you now, and I promise you this, I could do, and I would do. No, I'm just kidding. But I am the genius, the sensational. So is it possible I could book them better? Probably. Am I saying they're booking them poorly? No. But there's great, and then there's the best. And you're looking at them, okay? So next time you look in the dictionary and you're trying to look for a definition for sensational, for perfection, for the very best, look no further, okay? Look no further. But again, I hope that you are enjoying this presentation on behalf of TCW. I would love to have questions, comments, concerns regarding the Battle of the Bookers. I try to explain this stuff as best as I can, as I understand it in my head, although I know, for one, I'm terrible at explaining things, and two, that it might be kind of a foreign concept to someone who has never done like an E-Federation of sorts. I know this is the first time I've done an E-Federation. It's super fun. It's a cool dynamic to have, especially with other GMs involved, and it kind of allows you to be creative in different ways in kind of a competitive setting. But for me, it's a good kind of competition, because it's like I want to win, but performing well is the biggest part of it. I would want to win in a way where it's like we all did super well and yet still came out on top. You know what I mean? I've definitely been competitive about certain things where it's like I just want to win no matter what. But this is just really fun where it's like, man, I was just creative enough to edge out a victory, you know? So, I mean, there's that. You know, and I put Nikita Koloff over big time before. The King, he's the type of guy who could probably very well dance with everyone on my roster. And I think my roster is among the best. Certainly, as Jerry the King goes for the patented pile driver, it's among the best in that there's so many guys that can go. And I've been calling them mid-card guys, and that's just honestly probably due to the way that they have been booked. They could easily be top guys, but they just mesh well with each other, so they've almost, I mean, the U.S. title you could easily argue has just as much prestige as the Ultimate title. So it's almost down to preference, kind of the way the IC title was booked in the top 80s. The people who knew, oh, Steamboat, he can go. He's the guy. You know, Hogan is the guy who brings a lot of butts into the seats, but Steamboat is the guy who can go. You know, he's the most entertaining in the ring. Savage, he's the guy who can go in the ring, although he transcended it and became the draw, so to speak. But it's very akin to that type of comparison, as Lawler should have it wrapped up in a surprising defeat of Nikita Koloff. I really didn't expect that, but definitely going to have to take a closer look at Lawler moving forward. After that impressive victory, he made Nikita Koloff look like Andy Kaufman. Just continued to pile drive Koloff into submission, and an 88 rating is certainly going to have me looking at both competitors moving forward. And up next is what I fully expect to steal the show. We saw both competitors in matches last week. Will Ospreay and Tiger Mask, two stars who have wrestled in Japan and made a name for themselves. This one is going to be fast-paced, very technically sound, and very, very scary entertaining. And I hope that you brought a bottle of Gatorade, because you's going to get thirsty after watching this absolute firecracker of a match. Again, I fully expect this one to steal the show and be the highest rated match of the evening. But I've been wrong before. Hopefully I am not wrong tonight. So, backstory here. Tiger Mask, actually, in his match against Jushin Thunder Liger, had the lowest rated match in the last house show, which you can find in the archives if you are interested. Which I was kind of shocked. I really thought Tiger Mask and Thunder Liger would mesh, and I really hope that the same thing doesn't happen tonight in this match. You never know, though, and that's what makes it interesting. And Ospreay, on the other hand, had the highest match rating against all other singles matches in his match against Hiroshi Hase. So, long story short, Ospreay is on the up and up, and this is a bad match. I mean, I might have to blame old Tiger Mask, the legend, one of the most popular superheroes and wrestlers from New Japan. But we'll have to see. Let's put our attention on the match in the squared circle. Now, the reason I thought this would be the match of the night, both quick, agile, fast-paced, technical. They have that it factor, that aura about them, and they upset the likes of Jim Cornette. No. Tiger Mask, I don't know. I feel like Corny would probably appreciate him just because he was around at the time. And, but what do I know? I only listen to Corny intermittently on the Experience, and maybe just once or twice on the drive-through. He's definitely insightful, but he is also insightful in the way that he could incite a riot with his opinions and fire on certain subjects. I've heard him cut probably 30-minute promos on topics where it's like, I get it, but sometimes it's entertaining, especially when you agree, but when you disagree, kind of don't want to hear someone drone on about something you don't agree with. So, you know, but again, he's definitely a wealth of information. I saw an episode, one of the 10 pounds of gold. I think it was before Nick Aldis and Cody, don't call him Rhodes, 2 out of 3 falls match. And he was showing off like old NWA Illustrated magazines. And I thought it was probably the coolest take of Jim Cornette. And when you get to see just the true fandom of a guy like that, like their passion for wrestling, it gives you, or at least it gives me as the viewer, like a completely different perspective of him. And it's like, he's not like a bitter professional, like he's someone who actually cares so much about the business, and that's why, you know, he has these strong opinions. But, you know, nonetheless, his takes on like some of the flashy stuff you can find throughout history, where people are always going to complain about a higher work rate. The fact of the matter is, if you can't get everyone on board with like a different style, it's really hard to institute that. I mean, you either need a strong base to say, look, we need to do something, or you need someone at the top who revolutionizes the business, shows that you can work a different style at the top and be the most successful, and then people will start to follow suit. People follow trends in wrestling, and that's what has led to the higher work rate. One, we enjoy it, but two, other wrestlers see, oh, this is what they're doing, I gotta do it. But enough of my little spiel. Probably didn't come here to listen to me talk about current wrestling or work rates or what people prefer. You probably came here to listen to me talk about TCW, why we're the best, and what we're gonna do moving forward. One, we're gonna bring in some top talent. You might be looking at that top talent right now, because that's the type of maneuvers we need to not only win Alliance titles, but to put on 100 rated 5-star matches for the Battle of the Booker. Battle of the Booker isn't just won at the end of every month. It's won day by day, week by week. You got to put on consistently good matches. Now, I know I talked earlier about potentially in the future giving access to a read-only Google Docs of how we keep track of all the information, as Tiger Mask almost gets the 3 count there. I think it would be cool. It's a really easy to interpret medium to understand fully what we are doing for Battle of the Booker. If you've done it before, you already know, but if you haven't, it will make you completely understand how we are competing. So first of all, I want to communicate with Brandon and Charles just to see, like, hey, is it cool? I don't think they'll have a problem with it, but I don't want to share something that all three of us have been working on my own without them knowing. So first, get the permission from those two, and then find a good medium. One good medium to, one, find out when streams will be on would be to either subscribe here, like, turn on notifications, which I think is first the best. But if you want advance notice, as well as the notice that you would get from subscribing and notifications, the Sensational TMZ on YouTube is where I will post links and bring up or talk about streams that I will be doing in the future. Have a Twitch as well, the Sensational TMZ as well, on all three platforms. The Sensational TMZ, no spaces, capital T S T M Z. Did a Red Dead Redemption 2 stream, so if you're interested in that, check that out. Also have a video in the archives that I posted this morning. Tremendous game. But if you're a wrestling fan, Fire Pro Wrestling is the premier wrestling game on the market today. There is no better engine for simulation, and there is no better create a wrestler suit. Quote me on that. Quote me on that. No Mercy, you could argue. I mean, it was revolutionary for the time. This one is tremendous, and the fact that it works on next gen is also tremendous. I know that some people who like the game have complained. I totally get the complaints. Because not a lot of people are, you know, and here's the thing, with 2K, they kind of have a similar issue in that, I mean, in Will Ospreay is just risking life and limb here to try to put Tiger Mask away. Here's the issue. In 2K, and this year's installation seems to be better, you have the story mode, which will keep you engaged for, and I'll just guess here, 10 hours. It could be more. I don't think it's tremendously more. And it could even be less. I think it might be closer to 12. But, you know, whatever. I could be wrong, but an estimate. 10 hours of content. And a spinning toe hold is what wins it for Ospreay, and he is looking like a man possessed and foaming at the mouth to get on the TCW roster. In his case, is becoming stronger and stronger after putting on tremendous performances against Hiroshi Hase and now Tiger Mask. And another 92 out of Will Ospreay. He is looking very, very good and promising so far. Could he be joining TCW soon? Only time will tell. And now the next contest will be Lou Thez, the man who defeated Carl Gotch, who easily disposed of Bruno Sammartino, going up against the TCW roster member, the former TCW US champion, the franchise, the man they call Sting. And this is a big, big match for Sting because you know he has to respect. He has to respect Lou Thez, an innovator of the sport, one of the original bad mama jammas in the sport. This happens to me. Okay, there we go. Nearly every time I do this, My eyes deceive me and I can't find the guy I'm looking for. Anywho, he has to protect the TCW moniker. I mean, it would not be a good look for him to lose from someone who is trying to make their way onto the roster, but Lou Thesz has so much to gain, and in this matchup, it's almost like a title match for him. He wants to impress the scouts of TCW, and what a tremendous way to do it than to defeat the former U.S. champion and burst onto the scene in a way that no other man except for one other man on this card will have the opportunity to do. So, as I was saying with WWE 2K, you can run the WWE universe, but it can get stale, and one of the reasons for it, compared to Fire Pro, is that Fire Pro, their sim engine, or their, even when you play it, is superior, in my opinion. It's more fun, there's more variability, it's just a better match structure, the logic makes sense, and I don't think that's something that 2K is going to be able to compete with, because I think that they would already have good match logic by now. They do sim other sports very well, and I'm not saying that it's bad by any means. I just think Fire Pro has caught lightning in a bottle, so to speak, with what they do with their engine and how they have things sim. That's just my opinion, though. That's what it's what makes this Battle of the Booker series pretty interesting for me, at least. Something I enjoy. And it's been super fun so far. It's a challenge, but at the same time, it's a welcome challenge. I enjoy it a lot, and doing the house shows is something new for me. I'm not generally used to streaming, but it's been fun so far. I've liked the live nature. The thing that I like about recording is you can get your thoughts out the way you want. Like, I can slip up and you know, not, or I could give something away intentionally and like, oh, I gotta cover that. Or what happens a lot of times is I'll kind of make mistakes in between, especially if I'm not completely composed coming into the recording, and then I have to go back. I mean, I've had to redo stuff like 10 times. Like, oh man, I forgot to set the time limit. I had the wrong ref, wrong venue, on and on and on. And so obviously advantages to live broadcast and then pre-recorded, much akin to how it is in real life. But anything can happen when it's live, pal. At least that's what I've been told. So, the thing is about this match, as I stated, Thesz came in with a victory over Karl Gotch in a very hard-fought technical wrestling match. He's going to try to ground the Stinger. Take his explosive offense away from him, and Sting is going to try to keep his vertical base and stay agile. Try to just use that explosive offense against Karl Gotch. And Gotch has probably faced very few quite like Sting, but the same could be said for Sting, as he's almost put away by Lou Thesz. And my goodness, you have got to be kidding me, as Lou Thesz ends Sting's night early by a crit. And what an absolute destruction of Stinger. And now Lou Thesz has to be near the top of the TCW acquisitions list alongside Will Ospreay and another competitor who will be going up against TCW, and hopefully this one does not embarrass TCW once again, as we just saw there. I mean, not so much an embarrassment. Injuries happen in the sport every day, but Lou Thesz just... he looked dangerous there, man. He woke up this morning and he felt dangerous as Baker Mayfield felt dangerous just a week ago. And now, the man I mentioned earlier, Giant Baba. I'm real excited to see how he can do against some top talent on the TCW roster. He had a big win a few days ago, rather. I wanted to say last week, but on the last house show against Ricky Dozan, and now he will be going up against the Ultimate Warrior, one of the top talents of TCW. Does he have what it takes to hang and bang with the big dogs, or is he just a mere flash in the pan? Well, certainly not a flash in the pan. Giant Baba is among the greatest big men of all time, but can he be a main event attraction in TCW? Can he put on a great performance against the likes of the Warriors, Hogans, Magnum TAs, Bruiser Brodies, and Undertakers? We will find out tonight. And this is merely the co-main event of the night. You heard that correctly, folks. And what would generally be the main event of the night, the 7th match of the night, is merely the co-main event. And in the main event, I mean, we're at the end of November, in honor of November PPVs. And I know it says Survivor Series, but that's a rib, pal. But here's what's not a rib. Starrcade 83 main event. The Nature boy, the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, minx coat wearing, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Woo! The Nature boy, Ric Flair, will be going mano a mano against Harley Race in a cage in the main event. Stay tuned for that matchup. There will be blood. Now, I don't know. If this was a real life matchup, then I could guarantee Flair's gonna bust. He's gonna get busted open. But will there be blood? Stay tuned and find out. That's the kicker. Okay, that's my sell. And along with the original sell, let me just tell you, it's gonna be a great match. Harley, another competitor not currently on the TCW roster. He's going to have to make a tremendous impression, that's for sure. I hope he does. I mean, a lot of people are making their names and they're trying to make my decision hard, and I hope my decision's hard. I would rather come in with 10 names that I want rather than 5. So I have some backup in case Brandon or Charles decides to be a snicker little snack and take some of my guys. But, you know, Baba is definitely a guy I have my eye on. This is proving ground 101 for him, though. This is like the final boss, so to speak. Can you perform in the big leagues? You know? It's one thing if you can do good against guys who aren't on the roster. It does say a lot. It says a lot. But it's another thing if you can defeat my guys. A win over my guys goes a long way. A win over my guys in a great match also goes a long way. But here's the thing. That Luthez dominant victory over Sting could have been luck. We're going to find out, though. Because he's going to get another look. And you got to love that if you're talent. You want as many looks as possible. Because that means that you're growing on the old promoter, the old scout, the old ball coach, so to speak. And this one's interesting for sure. For people who haven't played Fire Pro or haven't seen a lot of Fire Pro, check out the archive. A lot of TCW TV. It's a lot more official, I would say, in quotation marks than this. A lot different presentation that focuses nearly primarily on the match. Try to storytell as well, but it's not from the perspective of the person putting the matches together. More or less my attempt at commentary. But this is a different format that I think will resonate with some people. I think it's cool to, you know, at least get the inner workings of what's going on. Kind of a conversational basis. But there's always the option, obviously. But, as I was saying, Warrior was not only dominant, which I don't think would surprise many people. I mean, this is a Warrior this is peak Warrior. This is prime Warrior. This is the Warrior that defeated Hogan Warrior. I mean, that is literally what the Warrior wore when he defeated Hogan. And you can tell in the way he performs. Night in, night out. But what might surprise people who think, oh man, you know, he's like a 5 moves and done type guy, as Baba nearly ends it. That would be a huge statement victory over the former Ultimate Champion of TCW. So, as I was saying, he is one of the top performers. He's one of the top performers. He is one of the guys who has put on some of the very best matches of TCW. Mark my words. If you don't believe me, TCW Highway to Hell main event in the archives. There is a playlist, TCW Halloween Havoc Highway to Hell. That's where it's at. It might be easier to find it that way or through the videos. It's TCW Highway to Hell main event. Warrior versus Bruiser Brody. Absolute masterpiece. One of the best matches. Then even more recent than that. TCW TV, I'm not sure which one it is. Hogan v Warrior, the WrestleMania 6 rematch. And on TV, full disclosure, the matches are harder to get better ratings. If you really want to find out how the sausage is made, the ref is what makes or breaks it. That's what makes at least the TV matches harder to get better ratings, and I think it's a good system. Whereas the pay-per-view has a more lenient, we'll say, easier to work with ref. nonetheless, it was on TV, so obviously a harder medium to do well on, all things considered, and they put on a freaking masterpiece. And they're probably going to get another match on pay-per-view. And Baba he looks to be in the driver's seat so far, and I don't want to bite my tongue, and I really hope I don't jinx the Warrior. I want our TCW roster to stay strong, look strong, but Baba is he's fighting for his TCW livelihood. That's for sure. We are 15 minutes into this competition, and Warrior has to get back in the driver's seat however he can. Things were not looking good for him there for a short while. And now here's the shocker. If you have witnessed, you may or may not be aware, in the most recent show, episodic show, the pay-per-view, TCW Soul Survivor, we had Warrior versus Taker, which I thought was going to be the match to steal the show, and it was tremendously one-sided. Check that match out. Shocking to say the least. One of Warrior's worst matches, but I can't blame him at all, as he was trying to finish Baba there with a Warrior splash, and certainly thought he had him there for a moment. Now Baba goes for a roll-up. This is nuts. What a good match. And this is a perfect example. This is what Warrior is capable of. If you give him a good dance partner, he's going to steal the show, man. He's talented. At least in this universe, and, you know, say what you will about him. He was an icon for the time, and that does not excuse any wrongs that he did, anything that he said, and they represent him as such in this game. I must say. I mean, he is prime Warrior. If he could put on that match quality he had with Hogan, and wow, Baba's going for here and nearly pulls out the victory. And Warrior's he has to change the tides here, and he could pull it up. And my goodness, this has got to be one of the all-time great matches in TCW history. And this could sway scouting quite a bit just to see this match on TCW TV in the future. And what a clothesline, and a big boot by Baba. And he gets up, and Warrior's got to put this away. I mean, he hasn't been able to seal the deal with his finish. And I think that is the most scary prospect. And that is that what can Warrior hit him with at this point that will finish it. And the splash has been unsuccessful. And it makes Baba look like he is clearly in the driver's seat, despite the fact that this has been very, very evenly matched. Now Baba sends him out. Perhaps he thinks that a count out is what he needs, or merely just wants to catch his breath. Your guess is as good as mine. and ducks the clothesline, does Warrior. And now he's going to put him in the tree of woe and work the midsection of Baba. And if this were a... Oh my goodness, there's the karate chop to the skull, which could crack a coconut. But Warrior unfazed. And he is looking for that splash to finish the match. This very well could and should be it. And Warrior just barely gets the 3 count against Giant Baba. And look, he is not in the... I mean, he looked shaken after that match. And what a performance. This should definitely be a 5-star match, a 100 match rating for sure. And that is just what Warrior is capable of, and I think it is a great indication of what Baba could bring to the TCW roster if he were to be brought on full time. I certainly hope that is the case if TCW were to pull the trigger on him. And well, it's certainly possible. And as advertised, the main event, the cage match that would main event NWA's Starrcade 83. This is gonna be a pretty intense matchup, that's for sure. Pinfall or submission, no escape. Flair and Race, one of the great rivalries of the 80s. Two of the premier competitors of the 80s. And I think this match may be able to touch the heights that they were able to reach nearly 35 years ago. And I'm excited. I hope you are as well for this main event. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for content that I will have in the future. I can tell you now without a shadow of a doubt, there will be more streams just like this one, more videos just like the TCW TV and pay-per-views, as well as more content, more diverse content moving forward. Any suggestions, comments, concerns, questions, drop a comment. I'll be able to get back to you for sure. I mean, and let you know what the hippity haps are. But for now, I hope you enjoy this classic matchup. And I've got to say, Harley, a competitor who has proven himself in the ranks elsewhere, but not yet enough to be on the TCW roster, but he is trying to become one of the Blessed Five who join the top promotion in the Battle of the Bookers universe, and defeating Flair would be a tremendous way to get on that short list. I can tell you that right now, without a doubt. But, and this is a big but, a huge caveat to that, in my opinion, would be not only defeating Flair, but defeating him in style. 100 match rating and a W. Because Giant Baba's performance against the Warrior will go a long way, without a doubt. That was a tremendous match, 100 match rating, 5-star match, very entertaining, and that's the type of stuff we're looking for. For as much as we need people who can bring home the gold come tournament time or come NWA title time, we need the guys who are able to put on tremendous matches. And Baba shows he can bring that out, and that he has the ability to really put on a show, and we need that just as much as anything else. So clearly looking for performance, substance, and outcomes is the criteria as of now. And again, NWA Tag Title Tournament will be coming up soon. I believe Brandon is the last one who needs to record his pay-per-view, and once that happens, we will be in tournament mode. And again, I guess I will be having to come up with a tag to at least a third one for right now, unless I change my mind to throw into that tournament. Suggestions are welcome. Right now I'm thinking Blade Runners and Hanson and Bruiser, but that is liable to change. And then there's a third one as well that I'm going to have to figure out, at some point. So it's a good problem to have, certainly, and I could certainly put a team together. But if there's someone you would like to see, I would love to hear it. There's someone you think that could perform well, I would love to hear that as well. But to this match, I think the original Starrcade really did break ground, and this was one of those rivalries that just shot Ric Flair into not only the main event scene, but like top guys in the business scene, because Harley was the dude, and then Flair became the dude by beating him there. But can Harley Race erase the past and defeat Flair in a situation in which he could really use the victory and get his name on the mind or the tip of the tongue of the scouts and promoter of TCW? That is the question. Flair goes for a roll-up. And Harley has got to stay vigilant, as Flair has a lot of tricks up his sleeve to get the victory. He's a tough SOB, but sometimes, like these roll-ups, if you didn't have them scouted, they could catch you and you'd lose in the blink of an eye. And I think he knows Flair almost just about as well as anyone. And Dusty, a member of the TCW roster, might challenge him on that, but they are probably among the top two who know Flair very, very well. Nice chop there. Flair is in his zone. You can tell when he starts chopping the way that he has. Now they're going to trade blows here. And Harley is calling for the end of Flair, but he connects with a discus chop to the neck that sent Harley down in a heap. And again, there is no escape. You can only win via pinfall or submission in this matchup. Harley fighting for his TCW livelihood, and Ric Flair rather does not want to lose to Harley Race let alone a man not on the TCW roster, and sully the name of TCW. And Harley came just inches shy of defeating the Nature Boy there, and again gets a 2.9. He is a hair short and a dollar off, and now he's going for the suplex. What is it going to take? We've yet to see the signature headbutts from Race or a pile driver. So and curse of the commentator there as he connects, is unable to capitalize. And we have yet to see a roll up by Race. He wants to steal one. And now in the center of the ring, Harley Race is in trouble, but breaks out. He muscles out. Definitely a move he has seen in the past. And I've got to say, this is definitely a unique matchup. And Flair, you know, as a member of the TCW team, got to say, I am pulling for Flair. But in the same notion, it does not go unnoticed that this would be a tremendous opportunity for someone of the skill set of Harley Race to get the coverage that he so desperately needs to get onto the roster of TCW. And a crossbody by Flair, and wins it with a crossbody. And the irony is not lost on me, as I believe that is the exact finish to the way Starrcade 83 finished it just 35 years ago. And no doubt about it, a 100 mash rating, and now Harley Race finds himself in that strange bubble in which he lost a very tight competition, but scores tremendously well for his match rating. And you know, it's a strange boat to be in, but it will certainly get him a second look nonetheless. And Flair is able to keep the good name of TCW intact. Ladies and gentlemen, I really do hope that you enjoyed tonight's presentation of TCW. I know it was late, you know, but nonetheless, there will be TV, pay-per-view, and more, a lot more house shows moving forward. Expect house shows probably before TV. I could be wrong on that, but nonetheless, stay tuned, like and subscribe. We will be back, and we will be better than ever, like Big E. See you later, folks.